What's up, what's up, what's up? Today my voice is a little off. Losing my voice. Don't ask. um, well, today I'm sitting down because I've been procrastinating on this. I'm gonna be doing a, book wrap up for the year. I skipped the November and December wrap ups because quite frankly I was so busy in those last 2 months that I didn't really have enough time to read shit. But because I didn't do a November wrap up, and that's the only month that I read a book in, towards the end of the year, I'll tell you what I read. This year is going to be different. We're doing, like I said, the November wrap up first, and then we'll head into the end of the year wrap up. The end of the year top 6 books I've read. So in the month of November, I read Tender is the Flesh by Augustina Basterica, and it's a very interesting take on cannibalism. It's a fictional dystopian book that has been recommended more times than I can count on TikTok, and I thought I'd be into it. I thought it was an interesting plot line. I'll say that. It was an interesting plot line because the book basically revolves around the whole reason why humans resorted to cannibalism in this book is because there was some kind of outbreak with humans that made or an outbreak with the animals that had made it poisonous for humans to eat, so they resorted to breeding humans for human consumption. And there are parts of this book that were very interesting. The book basically revolves around the main character, Marcos, and his wife left him, and he was hoping to have a child, and things, quite frankly, didn't work out for whatever reason between them two. I think she had miscarriages, I'm not sure, and he kept pressuring her to try, and that's why she left, if I'm not mistaken. And basically this book is a story of a man that detached himself from his line of work to stay sane, and then in the book he's gifted a human that was ready to be used for consumption, and he was given her alive, and there's a lot of moral questions posed with the morality of course, the obvious, the consumption of animal products, and then it goes into it. Kind of in a way reminded me of the movie Okja, but not really. Some of the questions that were posed were similar, and the morality of it all. And he kind of got lost, and then the gifting of another human being kind of changes his perspective or goal and what he was trying to accomplish. The question of what's legal in the society and what's not, and is it right, is it wrong. There's a whole bunch of questions posed. It was an interesting book, but overall, I wasn't too big of a fan of it. Because I feel like it posed a bunch of questions for the reader without answering them. I think maybe that was the intention, is to have you questioning everything, and little to no answers being given, kind of left on a cliffhanger here. And I feel like that was purposeful, but I feel like if you're trying to send a message, which maybe this author wasn't trying to send a message, and they were just trying to pose questions. I feel like if you're trying to send a message, that you want to frame your message in a way where it's very clear to the reader the point you're trying to get across. Maybe it wasn't meant to be that. Maybe it was meant to be this way. But I give it 3 stars. It was an alright story. Like I said, the plot line was fine. There was nothing wrong with the plot line. But I don't know. Let's see what the reviews say. Is it similar to what I'm critiquing on? Yeah, I think what it was is, by reading it, it posed a bunch of questions to the reader without actually answering them. And so some could kind of look at this as just gore porn, or some kind of sick, it's just kind of some kind of sick commentary without actually giving any thoughts and opinions on the matter. It's just kind of like gory for the reason of being gory, as some people could argue. So I guess that's my critique, and I give it 3 stars. Now to get into the top 6 books that I read in the year of 2023. I was really intending for this book to be, or this reading year to be, very productive and very active, but I kind of blamed that on the fact that my intense amount of serious projects led me to putting the whole reading thing on the back burner. I had set my goal for 50 books, and I only met 26, which is one less than, I think, 2021. So I didn't do terrible. It's my 3rd best reading year in recent years, but it's not the best by any means. And like I said, I blame them on the fact that I was so busy with so many different things and didn't have time to actually consume material. I was too busy, guys. I was too busy trying to survive last year, and I was too busy focused on news stories rather than books. I think last year was so insane that, and this year's even crazier, that I'm actually focusing on this channel, guys. I know you guys know that I have a second channel. If you're on YouTube, I have a second channel. And on Rumble, I'm going to be creating a second channel to keep the thing separate this year. But I had a second channel that was my podcast channel. Videos got removed, and I have a sneaking suspicion that if I kept them all up, that they would continue to remove them. So this year I'm focused on this channel, which is obviously focused on hauls, art, and literature, as well as film and other things that it will be focused on in the future, gardening and all this other stuff. So I'm focused on this channel for this year, and the other channel is just it's not gone. It hasn't been deleted, but we're taking a hiatus and all the videos are gone. So if you are interested in my podcast, Rumble's really the only place to listen to it at the moment. So just look forward to a lot of videos on this channel then, I guess, because this is my main focus for this year. I need eyes on what I'm doing, so this is my focus for the year. So, top 6 books for 2023. I'm not going in any particular order. These are just the ones that I found to be the most interesting. Woo. Wow. First book we're going to be talking about, which we will be doing an in-depth breakdown of the movie versus the book as soon as I get the chance, is Leave the World Behind by Rumaan Alam. This book has been the talk of the town this year, I should say last year, because we're in 2024 now. It was the talk of 2023. The book was talked about somewhat. The book is alright. The movies, this is a one case scenario where I actually do believe that the movie is better than the book. And I'll get into the reasons why when we do the comparison, because that's not what we're doing here today. We're giving you my top books for the year. It was published in 2020. I read it in 2023. And it's a fictional novel that is very possible to occur. It's very relevant, is what I should say. And it's a whole story about 2 families. It's a story of a family that went on a vacation. Amanda and Clay, they go on a vacation with their 2 children, their boy and a girl, for a vacation in Long Island, or remote area in Long Island, to try and escape the chaos and hustle and bustle of the city. And they go there, and during the trip, very soon after they arrive, a family comes knocking on the door, and it's Ruth and GH, husband and wife, black husband and wife, who knocks on the door and claims the home as their own. It's an Airbnb, and they claim that it's theirs. Amanda and Clay were renting it out for the weekend or the week or whatever, and they arrive there in panic because a outage swept the city, and they have nowhere to go but their own home in the middle of the boonies, even though a family is already renting it out. And there's no way for really either of them to know each other for certain, so there's a lot of doubts on the white family's part, and they're weary, and so is the black couple, and it just gets tenser, and the tension is just unbelievable in this book, and it's even more magnified in the movie. I think that's one of the reasons why I love the movie so much. And because the power's out and they have no phone service, they're or not the power out, the internet's down, they have no phone service. They don't, the whole power thing doesn't come up into the story until a little bit later on, but so they're really uncertain. It's an uncertain situation, and just honestly kind of crazy. So the whole story basically revolves around a kind of what would you do scenario, kind of claustrophobic the book is, and I thought it was well written. For as short as it was, I thought it was very well written. It's a great what would you do scenario, and it's just a great book. It gets to the point of the what ifs, and what would society do, and what would people do in this kind of tense situation, humanity, and all of those other questions. So I give it a 4 stars. After the movie, The movie I would rate like literally a 10 out of 10. So I would rate it a million out of a million stars if I could. The movie is so good. And like I said, that video is coming up shortly. So just wait on that, and hopefully I'll have it up before the end of the month. I'm not sure. I'm so busy with a different project right now, so it's just a matter of time, honestly. So that was one of the books I'd highly, highly recommend it. It's kind of a post-apocalyptic horror, tinges of horror, thriller for sure, mystery for sure, and 100% recommend. The second book on this list that I put together is a book in a similar vein that nobody's really talking about, and I think it's just as important of a read, honestly. It's called Aurora by David Cope. It was published in 2022. I read it in 2023. It is a very interesting plotline. So basically, this book, somewhat similar to Leave the World Behind, focuses on a solar storm. A solar storm on a scale similar to the Carrington event. And the... 1 minute. Focuses on an event that is strikingly similar to the Carrington event, but on a much larger scale. This book focuses on a solar storm, a solar flare that basically wipes out all of the entire nation's power supply, and basically knocks out all of their equipment. So that's basically what happens. So it takes place in Aurora, Illinois, and the book focuses on Aubrey Wheeler and her brother Tom. And so Aubrey recently divorced from her gambler slash criminal ex-husband, and Aubrey is basically mainly parenting her son. I don't remember in the book if it was she had full custody. I would assume so, given the actions that her ex-husband had taken. But you know, so it's focused on Aubrey, her son, raising her son, and throughout this book, her extremely wealthy brother Tom. So she I think woo. I think this takes place in modern day, where, if I'm not mistaken, this takes place post 2020. I'm not going to say the name because YouTube is really smacking down on videos these days, and the last thing I want is a top 6 book video to be taken down. But just post 2020 world, where she was used to traveling for work, and now she's basically trying to get into the swing of things after 2020, and how 2020 basically threw a wrench in her kind of work, and she basically comes back home from a trip, I believe, and she's having to deal with the lights going out because the solar storm came and knocked out the power. And so she's warned by her brother, I believe, numerous times. Her brother was more of a prepper kind of deal. and he warns her numerous times, gave her funds even to prepare for this kind of thing. And instead of preparing for the inevitable, like most idiotic Americans, she decides to take that money that he gave her for a shit hits the fan scenario and decides to spend it on kitchen cabinets or something of the sort, if I remember correctly. And she's now left in this kind of scenario that her brother was warning her about, with as a single mother in a post SHTF world, and she's having to deal with the consequences of her actions. And then I think her brother had like wired her some money or something, or had, was able to get her some cash. Maybe it wasn't wired. He was actually able to hand deliver her cash because he had some, guy go all the way out there to hand deliver her the money, with the promises that he would get paid, which I don't think ended up happening, for other reasons that I'm not going to get into because that would spoil the book. But so she's basically assuming the position of, well, I'm not good, like, because her brother had offered to bring her to the bunker. Her position is basically, I'm bugging in. I'm not going to live the rest of my days in some bunker. If you want to do that, that's on you. Fine, cool, chill. But I'm going to be staying here with my son, and we're going to figure out a way to eke out an existence and survival in this post-SHTF kind of a world. And she goes the route of trying to grow a community, do things with her community, like growing food and all those kinds of things. And so she's content with staying there as long as she's able to try and eke out an existence. Let's just say things throw a monkey wrench into her plans, and her brother Tom kind of has to get involved in ways that were not expected, and it's just an interesting book. I give it 5 stars. I thought it was a very interesting story. It's a post-apocalyptic dystopia thriller book, and it's similar in plotline to Leave the World Behind. Not exactly the same, but similar. And I've read a lot of books recently that having to do with this whole blackout thing, because I think it's a very plausible, probable event to occur in the near future. So a lot of these books really exercise the mind in a what would you do, what ifs type of scenario. So I give it 5 stars. The third book that I read in the year of 2023 was a book called Gleanings. This was a short story collection by Neil Shusterman, following up on the trilogy that was Scythe, Thunderhead, and followed by The Toll. Gleanings, really, I'd given a more in-depth review in one of my wrap-ups for the year, and I have to say he really redeemed himself with this short story collection. The ending of the third book was so annoying, some could even argue a cop-out. It was just frustrating. It wasn't the ending that I was hoping for, along with many others who read the book based on the reviews. Gleanings was really a redemption arc for Neil Shusterman this year when it comes to that storyline. I had so much fun reading the short stories. There were so many different favorites of mine, and I gave all of my favorites in the wrap-up video in which I talked about this story. I give it 5 stars. It was absolutely stellar. Absolutely fantastic, fun read. You couldn't read this though if you didn't read the other three books. So that's what I have to say about that. But it was an absolutely stellar compilation of short stories. He got political in some of them. Didn't bother me much. I understood where he's coming from on certain things, but absolutely amazing. Absolutely redeemed himself. Overall, on Goodreads, it has a 4.9, which is really good. I had so much fun reading this. It was a blast. It really was, and everybody else seems to love this short story collection as well. This is way better than The Toll, in my opinion. If you're wondering what my favorite book in the series is, it's definitely Thunderhead for sure. For sure, definitely Thunderhead is the best one in the series. It just so happens to be that way. And damn near every dystopian trilogy, it's always the second book that's the best. But this close second, guys, very close second with Gleanings, and I had so much fun reading it. It was amazing. The ideas in some of the stories were just, and some of the background, and I really really dug this short story. And in fact, I would say, as far as like the experience of reading a book, a fiction book, this definitely gave me that kind of high that I was looking for. So, absolutely amazing, and I gave it 5 stars. Last year, I split the top 6 books into 3 fiction to 3 nonfiction. I didn't really read a whole lot of great nonfiction this year, so I'm really splitting it 4-2. The next fiction book that I read in the year of 2023 that I thought was amazing was Daisy Jones and the Six. I read it just before the movie hit. I know I'm late to the party on reading the book, but I'm not totally late because I read it before the movie came out. Not movie, show, series. I can see why everybody loves this story, man. Like, it's such a cool, true to the time that this book is trying to portray book. It's a very good historical fiction book. Very good. Historical fiction in the way that it's taking the time period, and this is another really interesting way of writing historical fiction, is it's not where they're writing about a historical event that actually occurred. They're writing in a historical time period of an event that never occurred. And it's a really, I thought it was amazing. There's a reason why everyone's talked about this book series show. The songs that were just amazing in the show. The show was amazing. I thought it was somewhat true to the book after reading the book. I lived for this book. Made me laugh so many times. It's such a fun read. It was really such a fun read. And after reading an autobiography of someone that was around at the time, I could tell you a lot of the stories were so. I mean, you could tell the author really did her research on the time period in which she was writing about, because she didn't want to make it seem false or fake. She made it seem really real with the time period that she was trying to cover. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Overall on Goodreads, it has a 4.22. Definitely a winner, in my opinion. So was the show. And yeah, I definitely had fun reading that. The 5th book that I read that I put on this list in the year 2023 was The Cornbread Mafia. Now, I was literally dying to read some kind of nonfiction crime. This is the closest I came to like a true crime novel this year. And it's wrote by James Higdon. I think that this is a really fascinating story. For anybody that's into the whole weed thing and wants to know the history of marijuana in American history and the role it played, and the role it played specifically after Prohibition, I would totally recommend reading this book. I don't know why this guy's story hasn't been turned into a movie yet. It's honestly really, really interesting. This guy who wrote the book, James Higdon, really did his research. In fact, he did personal one-on-one interviews with these people to write the book, which is authentic as hell. And it centers around like the Kentucky, I believe Kentucky kind of area, if I'm not mistaken. Could I be wrong about that though? Let me see. It focuses on what was, and I'm only using there's certain things that he did that were still not right. It focuses on the man, the myth, the legend, Johnny Boone. He's known as the Godfather of Grass. And this is a really cool story, to be honest with you. I absolutely love this story. This whole story focuses on the Kentucky area of the United States. And it focuses on the prison life and, the tactics they use to cover their crimes up, and the clashes between local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, the clashes within their own community, the rules that they had, the rules in which they ran by, and the operation and the code in which they ran by, which not even the Italian mafia could meet up to. And that's talked about in this story, how even the Italian mafia, when these guys went to jail, were impressed with the kind of standards that they ran by. And it's just it's a story, it's a historical story, and honestly, in a way, kind of sad, because here we are in 2024, and weed is basically legal, and here you have a story of a guy that, I'm not saying he was a saint by any means, but here it is, you have a guy that basically wasted his entire adult life in jail over something that is now legal. That's got to be a total mindfuck for somebody like that. And if you're into, like I said, if you're into this kind of thing, I think this is a book for you to pick up if you're into weed, or even just this kind of history, and you want to learn more. This is a definitely must read, in my opinion. I gave it a 5. No, I didn't give it 5 stars. I gave it 4 stars. I had so much fun reading this. This is something that nobody really talks about. And like I said, this guy's story really needs to be turned into a movie, because it's movie material. So, and the last book that I put on this list for top 6 books I read in 2023, is a classic. It is a must read if you are looking to improve your life, and it's Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. What compelled me to read this book was not only the financial struggle that was going on during the time of reading this book in the country, the kind of turmoil, but his podcasts. I watched more of his podcasts than I've read books of his, and I thought that was a problem that I needed to fix. And I'll be reading, hopefully, another one of his, I think it's called Who Stole My Pension this year, if I get a chance. Really looking to improve my mindset on money. I'm always looking to do that. I'm always looking to improve my outlook on the financial aspect of this world. But mostly I was just curious about what it was what the hype was about. I also, like I said, I've watched him on podcasts more often than I've read books of his, and the guy is really, really smart. I mean, the guy sounds like me, honestly, on some days, and the guy is really intelligent. And is that to say that, we're exactly on the same level when it comes to everything? No. And nor am I trying to compare myself to this financial genius, but a lot of the stuff that he has to say, I echo in my own life a lot to many different people, and it's some of the advice that I give people today, and I would highly recommend that if you don't even feel like picking up the book, at least watch him on his podcast, because he's a wealth of knowledge, and he's one of the people that, and one of the names that you're going to want to know going into this new year, because the guy really has his finger on the pulse of currency collapse, banking collapse, and all this kind of stuff. So he's really got his finger on the pulse, and I highly recommend reading this book, honestly. I think a lot of average people in society would really do well to read this book. The problem is most average people would put it down immediately after some of the things that he says, because it forces the majority of America to look into a mirror and to really reflect on how it is their relationship is with finance and money and jobs and degrees and higher quote-unquote education. I think a lot of people that read this book as the average guy or gal is going to get very irritated and triggered, I guess is the word, by this book, because it's not telling them what they want to hear. And the truth is somebody that's honest isn't going to tell you what you want to hear. They're going to tell you what you need to hear. And I'm telling you that this should be required reading. Honestly, this should be required reading. It puts your mind in a different perspective about money, what money is, and how it works. And he covers a lot of the stuff that I cover. I mean, guys, on my Instagram and my podcast, now airing on Rumble only, he brings up a lot of the stuff that I bring up, and the guy is honestly a genius. So if you're not listening to, and if you have this whole mindset of, oh, well, he's just trying to sell me something, blah, 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 okay, keep with that mindset, and you're just going to end up even broker than you already are. And that's the problem with people today, is they don't want to improve. They want to blame everything on everybody, and they don't want to look in the mirror and say, this is what I need to fix about myself. So if you're one of those kinds of people, yeah, don't pick up this book. You probably won't even get past the first page, because you're not about self-improvement, and you're not about what can I do better for me, because it's just a fact. So a lot of different things that he said in this book, that even if you don't read any of his other books, there's things in here that you really need to listen to, like his Rich Dad's perspective and what he was taught about the currency, the US dollar, and how one day it's inevitably going to collapse because it's backed by nothing. And then the talk about higher degrees and all these people chasing degrees and quote-unquote higher forms of education, rather than, and there's just a whole bunch of, you just read the damn thing yourself. Just read it yourself. It's really good. I promise you, there's a reason why everyone's talking about this, and they have talked about it for years. It was published in the 90s. Overall on Goodreads, it has a review of 4.12. I give it a 5 out of 5 stars. Read it, please. Improve yourself in that arena before it's too late, because this year is not going to be pretty. I don't believe this year is going to be very pretty in that arena. So educate yourself if you can. So for the year of 2024, now that we're done with the top books I read, for the year of 2024, I'm really not certain if I'm going to do much better. I'm setting my goal at the same 50 because I actually want to break that number. I want to at least get to that number, and I'd like to break it. So I'm setting my goal at 50 again this year, hoping to redeem myself. Will I succeed? You can follow me along for that ride, that journey. I'm not really starting off this year on a great foot. I'm really in the middle of 3 different books right now. I'm in the middle of, actually 4. I'm still in the middle of the Bachman books, which is insane. Because I haven't, truthfully, guys, it just goes to show you how busy I've been, that I haven't been able to physically read anything as of late. So I'm still in the middle of that. I'm in the middle of an ebook of the comics, the Snoopy comics, the Peanuts comics. It's just fun to read them. So it should be quick to finish those up. I'm also in the middle of I think it's Southerner's Guide to Slaying Vampires or something like that. By Grady Hendrix. And then I'm in the middle of that book that I said I was going to take notes on, but I haven't been able to take notes on it yet. Let's see what it's called. I'm in the middle of After America by Mark Stein still. I really want to focus and write notes when I'm reading that, so I'm still in the middle of that one. So I'm really in the middle of 4 books right now, and hopefully I finish them all this month or next month, and that'll start my year off really good. 4 books in 1 month, 4 books in 2 months, whatever, starts off really good. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm going to be very busy this year, to be honest with you. I'm going to be really focusing on this channel this year. I'm really going to be trying to make a lot of art content for you guys. Really, really trying to grind out this video stuff. Social media, eBay, and I really don't plan on taking much more on my plate as far as commissions go and obligations go, because I do better when I'm free from all of that and I'm able to focus on my garden, my books, and my bookmarks and different art stuff on eBay. I do a lot better when I'm focused on that rather than, oh my god, like deadlines, like, oh my god, I gotta get this painting to this person XYZ date. Like, no, I don't really work that well on commissions these days, and I'm just honestly focused on improving and really getting this art stuff off the ground this year, because I don't really have much time left, I don't believe, and I'm just trying to really, really grind this art stuff. And so I've got a few ideas, and I'm really hoping to really start this year off strong, because what my goal is to really start off with a nest egg, to really start off with a fund, so I can go into the growing season absolutely flawless into the garden season, buying everything that I need and not have to really worry about shit. And so really my goal and focus, my primary focus, is grinding the entire beginning of the year, so it's not as difficult for me the rest of the year. That's really the plan. So that's cool. And if you guys read any books that you guys would like to have me read, or any suggestions, any books that you guys really liked, let me know. Let me know in the comment section. That's all. Till next time. Bye, guys.